Two guys in their early 50s with one dream: to achieve middle-aged sporting glory. This is the Missing Links Golf Show. Andy Walker, welcome back. And mate, I've got to say, I'm still coming to terms with that intro referring to two guys in their early 50s. It's confronting.
Yes. Well, you get used to it. I mean, I've been there for a little while now and not too far away from nudging mid-50s. So that'll be an interesting experience. But, you know, it's just a number.
Apparently so, but a very important number nevertheless, because it does qualify for certain tournaments.
That
Andy
is true.
Walker. And speaking of qualifying for certain tournaments, we have news.
I haven't qualified for anything because I haven't played in anything. So
no, you haven't qualified for anything.
I'm struggling.
No.
So we must be referring to your good self, Mr. Hink. So
We are.
what's the news?
Well, Pilgrims, you might recall it was a couple of episodes ago when I did ask the question about whether or not I should, in my esteemed colleague's opinion, put my hat in the ring for the New South Wales Mid-Amateur Championships.
Yes, recall that well.
You were pretty straight down the line with that answer. There wasn't too much mucking about.
I was pretty adamant with my perspective.
Yeah, there was no real fence sitting on that one, which was good.
No.
And so I took your advice. You talked me into it. Put my name down.
Yep.
And a couple of days ago,
because that's also similar to the senior amateur. There's a handicap limit, and if they go over the allocated number, it's a ballot based on handicap.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So it's field of 200.
Yep.
Open to
what's the age bracket? It's because it's different to the US, because US I think starts at 25, whereas
I think you're right. Yeah, no, in Australia it's 30.
The 30. Okay, so
Yeah,
so
it's 30.
there's still some decent golfers that are likely to put their entry form in. So given you didn't qualify at 50 plus.
Lowering down to
plus.
30 felt like a stretch.
Okay.
I think there's been two differences though. So similar to the senior amateur, they're running the men's and women's event in conjunction.
Yep.
And therefore the field was, depending on number of people that put in applications, up to 100 women, 100 men. But obviously, if either gender didn't come to the table with enough applications, the other gender would fill those spots because they wanted to have the 200-person field, right?
Nice. Yep.
As it transpired, there weren't a huge number of lady entrants put their name forward, so they've got a relatively small field. But there was well over 200 blokes put their name down on that, so there was a handicap ballot. But I got in.
Nice.
Yeah,
awesome.
I got in. I'm in the field.
That's great news.
Yeah, it's very exciting. So
this will be the second New South Wales Championship then that you're going to tee up in.
Yeah, which is quite amazing. I just never would have thought that necessarily would have happened, but it is quite exciting. And this one, of course, this is a full state level tournament. So, the last one that we played together, which was country championship, so that ruled out people from Sydney, but this is obviously including people from Sydney. So that spreads the net a little bit more widely. It is on the 1st, 2nd and 3rd of June. So it's not far away. By the time this drops, it's a couple of weeks away. And I
believe there's a cut after 36
There's a cut after 36 holes, yeah.
So is this your first event with a cut?
Yeah, it is.
Wow.
It is. It is. It's cool.
That's exciting.
Huh? Yeah, it's very cool. So, and look, I don't know how many players they're going to take through on the cut. That hasn't been announced at this point.
All right. Okay. Yep.
I think on handicap, and come back to your comment before about, lowering the bar down to the age of 30, there'll be some strong players. Look, so
Yeah,
I go in with an index currently sitting at 8.7 on the ballot.
Yep.
And I think I came in ranked about something like 170th or something along those lines.
Yeah, right.
In the field.
Yep.
The
Because there
top,
were some decent scores in the mid-am last year, if I remember correctly. It was like well under par.
and it will be because the
yeah.
top 45 entrants on the list are all plus handicaps.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. And
Good
I
one.
think you've got to get up to about 100 entrants before you even get past 2.
Yeah, wow.
So it's a hot field. The lowest handicap on the list, when I had a look at it when it came out, was at plus 5.5.
That's good golf, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's pretty good golf.
it is. So obviously off the stick, I'm going to really struggle to compete with someone at that level. But on handicap, he's going to give me nearly 14 shots for the round.
Yeah.
So, hey, anything's possible. But it is exciting. Like it's really, really good. It was very disappointing to me to miss out on the senior amateur over at Nelson Bay. So it's a great turnaround and a great opportunity to get to have a crack at the New South Wales mid amateur in Tamworth in first week of June. So it's exciting.
Nice. And I actually did think about throwing an entry in their Pilgrims as well. I think it was it Friday we were talking about it?
Yeah, it was.
And I sort of went, all right, I'm gonna hit some balls in the High Performance Centre over the weekend and just see how the wrist feels. But yeah, I after a few shots on Sunday, I just went, you know what? No, I can't risk it. I don't want to start pushing it and re-injuring. So yeah, it's actually feeling a lot better. So I can see light at the end of the tunnel. And I reckon by the end of this month, the end of May, I should be right. But that also then obviously puts out the mid-am. And I can't take a chance given how early that is in June. Also puts out the Camden Seniors as well, which I'm a bit disappointed.
That's disappointing.
Yeah, about given how well I played in the Camden Seniors last year. But it also gives me a little bit of a runway through June and July to get a bit of practice in, to get the game back, to get a bit of, a little bit of skill level back before I'm eyeing off the New South Wales regional qualifiers for the New South Wales Open. That'll
so
be tough.
Cool.
It'll
Awesome.
be a tough one to get into. And again, that's a ballot. There aren't many amateur entries that are allowed, but I had a bit of a look at the other day and there's one up at Coffs Harbour at the start of August. And I'm just going to see how it goes. I'm going to just watch the entries just to see how many entries come in. And yeah, if I feel good enough and strong enough, the entries don't close, I think, until June, so sometime in June. So I've got plenty of time to see how we go with it. But yeah, that's my main focus, to start practicing again sometime in June to order to ramp up for August, September. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, looking forward to seeing how you go in the mid-am next month. That's very exciting.
It is exciting, feeling the pressure, but I think, I think the experience last year in Parks at the Country Championships is definitely helpful. Just the understanding what that experience is like, turning up to the course with proper tournament conditions and a little bit more of what to expect out there on the course. I've got limited time between now and then to work on my game. And what is also a little bit of a challenge, obviously we want to have a conversation tonight about preparation, but what is also a bit of a challenge is it's not daylight savings anymore, Andy Walker.
No.
So I can't get out after work and get 9 holes in and do those sorts of things. So I'm really limited to the High Performance Centre and not a lot of golf otherwise. I am playing a competition around this Saturday down on the rolling fairways of Bathurst Golf Club.
Nice. Yep.
So that'll be nice. But yeah, it's going to be difficult to get a lot of course time between now and then to work on things, which is slightly disappointing.
Yeah, well, and again, I mean that's one of the things that I would say is, well, certainly if you want to do well and you want to be at your best, it's one of those things that leading up into a big championship, you need to be on the golf course. If you know that's where you sharpen your game up, that's where you sharpen your mental skills up. You can, yeah, there's a lot you can do playing holes or playing in comps just to get yourself in that mindset of playing and competing. So the fact that you can't do that, that's a little bit disappointing. But I guess you got to work with what you got to work with.
Yeah, it's not ideal, but it is what it is. I'm sure I won't be the only person in that situation, and I think I'll need to just draw on previous experience of going into competitions underdone. There's plenty of that experience throughout my golf career.
Plenty of that.
So,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, realistically, it's about getting out there, giving it a crack, and just trying to see where my game is at in that sort of an environment, and having a lot of fun along the way. I'm not wanting to put too much pressure on shooting a score or getting a particular outcome. It will be what it will be, and so long as I can stay in every shot, as we've talked about so many times, stay in every shot, follow the process. Do some of those sorts of things and play some decent golf along the way, I'll be very happy.
Yeah, and that's what it is at this point in time. And I think that for the next couple of years, it's just about building on experience and first of all, having that experience, learning from the experience and building on the experience. And certainly in New South Wales Championships, and that's what I said to you a couple of weeks back, in that if you get the opportunity to play in one, just do it. Like even if you have to drop another couple of events later in the year because you've used some annual leave or you've done a couple of favors within the family, you just need to get into those championships because that's where your experience is. And even going to a single day event is nothing like playing in a New South Wales state championship. You can't compare it.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, look, last time doing that for 2 rounds, that was a big deal. And you're pretty tired at the end of it, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
Staring down the barrel of a 3-day event, should I be fortunate enough to make the cut, that's a lot of golf in 3 days. Manage yourself through that physically and mentally. It's it's big.
And the other part of that just gives you a slightly different viewpoint of pressure is on day 2.
Yeah.
If you're on or around that cut line.
I so hope that's the case. That'd be great.
Yeah.
That just would be so good.
That in itself is a really, really cool learning experience. And it's just, it's different to leading or, in certainly coming down the stretch, competing to win. On the other side of it, it's that competing to make the cut and to setting yourself little goals to try and just make it over the line so you can play the next day. It's just a different type of pressure.
Yeah, no, thoroughly looking forward to that. We'll see how we go. It's going to be a really, really interesting experience. So we look forward to it. And Pilgrims will keep you updated. But before we get too far down the path of New South Wales Mid-Am prep, Andy Walker, I feel like you might have had a bit of an experience during the week that you want to share.
Yeah, I did. Last Friday, it was actually, I was down in Sydney for work and I dropped into Thornley driving range, Thornley Golf Centre. And as you know, that's where I did my Titleist fitting with Jason Butt, and that's where I sort of got my driver, fairway, and 3 utility. I had a really good experience there, and the guys at Thornley Golf Centre they were great, really helpful through that process. So I know they're a accredited lab putter fitting centre, so I wanted to drop in because I'd watched a couple of YouTube videos on Adam Scott and how he's designed the new Oz.1i. So I wanted to go and have a look at it. It looks really, really good. on YouTube. I sort of felt as though that's probably close to the style of putter that I would go for if I was going to go for a lab putter. I have seen the Mez and the DF3 previously, but I wanted to go and have a look at the Oz, which had a little bit of time up my sleeve, so dropped into Thornley. Unfortunately, they didn't have the Oz in a broomstick or a sweeper, as Lab calls it. They did have a couple of standard sizes, so I had a couple of putts with them. However, they did have a Mez.1 Max and also the DF3 in a sweeper. So I thought, okay, well, I'll jump all over that and grab the Mez, and decided to have a few putts. It's just a little putting mat that they've got there. And the first Mez that I putted with was a 45-inch standard lie, and it felt pretty good. I was pretty impressed with how it felt. One of the guys came over. We had a bit of a chat, and I told him what I was looking for, and he said that at this stage he doesn't believe that the Oz is available in Australia. He's not sure what that what that timeline is, but he said definitely the Mez and the DF3 is, if I was interested in looking at the lab. Anyway, he went around the back and grabbed a couple more of the broomies that he had in another bag, and he pulled out this DF3 46-inch and 79.5 degree. So quite an upright putter. It's actually the maximum, legally allowed upright that you can get. And I had a few putts with this DF3 46-inch putter, and it made me stand up because my ping is 45 inches, so it's about the same length as my driver. But the 46 inch just made me stand up a bit straighter. The 79.5 degree lie angle meant I was standing a little bit closer to the ball. So I felt as though my eye line was pretty much directly above the ball when I was directly above the line when I was putting. And I tell you what, I was able to roll this DF3. I'd probably hold, I reckon, I don't know, 15, 20, 12 footers in a row. Got the guy to take a couple of videos of it, which is what I sent you. And it just felt really, really good. Now, don't get me wrong. I think the DF3 is the ugliest looking putter I've ever laid my eyes on. And if I was to go with a lab putter, I'd do the Mez. I actually wasn't that impressed with the Oz. I thought I'd really like it, but yeah, I couldn't. Yeah, it just didn't really suit my eye. I know it was a standard putter versus a sweeper, but you could still obviously imagine what it would be like in a sweeper, and I just didn't think that. I thought it'd be a little bit different. The shape and the feel of it would be a bit different. So I went back and I swapped a few times from the Mez.1 Max to the DF3, and the Mez.1 Max felt really, really good. I really liked the shape of it. Still worked really well. However, I think that maybe like a combination of the Mez.1 Max at 46 inches and the 79.5 degree lie angle, I reckon that would work really, really well for me. And I'm seriously considering maybe getting one. The only downside is they don't have the SAM Putt Lab. So there's no data. It's the fitting process is really about what feels good, and what seems to come off the putter quite well from both a feel perspective and obviously visually. So there's no data behind it, which I'd prefer there to be a little bit more data there. But I did send an email to Club Champion, the same mob that you got your putter fitting with, and they don't do fittings for broomsticks.
They are anti-broomy, that's true.
Yeah, so they're only standard putter. So I'm not going to be able to go down there and do a
Right.
putter fitting with Club Champion.
Mm.
However, it got me a little bit intrigued. So I started to do a little bit of research on because they obviously use the Sam Putt Lab, but it's not exclusive to them. And I actually
Mm.
found a mob at Charlestown driving range. It's only about 40 minutes from where I am. And they've got the Sam Putt Lab. I was only doing this about an hour ago, so I haven't contacted them, haven't had a conversation with them.
That's exciting.
But I'm sort of thinking that I might give them a call over the next couple of days just to have a chat to them. Doesn't look like they do lab putters,
Mm.
but I might be able to get some sort of data from that Sam Putt Lab, and then yeah, I don't know, have a conversation with them about the lab putter, and maybe see if I can borrow one from Thornley, and yeah, see if I can get some data around it, because I'd really like to get some data to be able to make an informed decision rather than just, I mean, we talked about, one of the golf
100%.
myths that we busted, the feel versus real
Yep.
myths. So I'm really keen to get some data, but I need to figure out how I'm going to do it.
And the other thing that gets polluted in that argument is if you, in your mind, are already going, I really like this putter, you're convincing yourself of the feel of how good it feels and everything else. Like, it takes a very strong mind to not allow that sort of emotion to bleed into
Yep.
your appraisal.
Yep.
Whereas
Yep.
the numbers don't lie, right? Like, it's the
correct.
same as club fittings with TrackMan. The numbers just don't lie.
Yeah.
The other thing that I was curious about with that, because the Garmin R10 that we have as our home launch monitor, it doesn't do putting.
No.
So that's a little bit of a weakness on it. But the Square, does that do putting?
It does putting, but I don't know how much data you get from putting. I think that yeah, I'm not sure, because I know that I've watched a few reviews of
Yeah.
the Square launch monitor now, and there's some reviews around putting in the simulator, like when you're actually playing, simulated
Rounds.
golf.
Yep.
Yeah, but I don't know about whether, putting practice, how much data it gives you with your putting practice as such. I haven't sort of delved that far into the Square to find that out.
Be interesting to find out. 'Cause, I mean, obviously, it's not going to be anything like a Sam Putt Lab. Don't get me wrong there for a moment. But if it at least gives you face angle and path, that's really interesting.
Yep.
And that could be enough reason to fast track that purchase to take your little Square down to your mates where the lab putters are and do a self analysis.
Yeah, it's a good point. Good point. I hadn't thought about that, but
Another way,
it could be
another way of
something
dealing with it.
Yeah. I mean, there are a couple of specific that I've noticed. I think on might be Bayside Golf, where, because they're exclusive distributor of the Square launch monitor, I think they've got a specific part. Was not a launch monitor, but a device where you can get all your stats from a putter.
There is. There is.
So
I know
I'm
the
not
one you
sure.
mean. I know the one you
I'm not
mean. And it
I'm
like
not
the,
sure
the
what
mat.
it's called, but
Yeah, the mat rolls out almost like a projector
Yes.
screen kind of thing in front of you.
Yep.
And it's this sort of T-shaped camera sensor.
yes, yep.
I know
Yep,
exactly
yep.
the one you're talking about. I also can't remember what it is, and we will we will investigate that and share the details. That's another interesting thought, actually, and maybe a way around it. I think that from memory, I feel like that was like $500 or $600 or something for that unit, because I did have a look at it at one point.
Yeah, let me just keep talking. I'm going to jump on my phone and I'm going to jump onto the Bayside Golf.
Well, you do
website
that.
and just have a look.
You do that, because the next item that I kind of want to follow on with regarding your lab putter fitting or your lab putter fitting, choose whichever one you will. Easy for you to say, he says. It's continuing down the putting line. Now, you might remember one of the things that we were talking about a couple of episodes ago, for my focus on development at the moment, was around green reading
Yes.
with my putting, particularly after the Macquarie Cup, where we learned that I've now, with my new properly fitted putter, I am actually able to roll the ball on the line that I want to.
Yes.
And the only thing that's really holding me back is figuring out what is the line that I should be rolling the ball on, which you were quite good at identifying using your aim point methodology. So you might recall in that conversation, I'd kind of identified that I was going to go down the tour read path. In terms of a methodology for working on green reading. So I have done that. I've downloaded the app and signed I'm going to say, not a small subscription fee for Tour Read. It's $150 for 12 months.
Okay.
Which does obviously make you pause for a moment and just think, is this the right decision? But I think it is. I actually have been really impressed. I've only had a couple of opportunities to have a go with it. I actually took my putter and a couple of balls and my phone down to the practice green at the golf club this afternoon on the way home from work. And did a little bit of a session down there in terms of the tool read. And Andy Walker, I've actually got high hopes that this is going to be a really, really, really useful process. I genuinely believe that it's based on a very similar methodology and theory and data that the aim point setup is. And so I just run through with you some of my very early days observations because I'm interested in your thoughts on this and how it is similar and how it is different from aim point. And maybe this is a good one for the pilgrims if they're out there thinking, do I want to go down the aim point path or is tool read another option? So essentially, there's some really, really good YouTube videos out there by the guy who came up with this system and developed it. And he's a PGA Tour putting coach. So a lot of this was actually developed for PGA Tour players in mind. But as we know, the putting stroke is the one thing that we can really all do, like PGA Tour players, because it doesn't require specific athletic ability. So the first thing, which was an interesting point that he made, which was tour pros in a controlled environment. So imagine on a flat surface, on a putting mat in an indoor setup, they will make 12-foot putts at a success rate of 90%.
Right. Okay.
Which speaks to their ability to roll the ball on the desired line that they want to roll it, because they know it's straight. They aim at the hole. They can hit the hole from 12 feet 90% of the time. Like that obviously is a very, very high level. Now, where it gets interesting is then if you take their performance out on real greens in tournaments, that 90%, how far do you think that drops, Andy Walker?
Well, I know that 8 feet is 50%, so
it's less than that.
Yeah, it's. I reckon it's probably got to be 40, early 40s,
30% from 12 feet.
Okay,
so 60 percentage points different, and the thing that changes is that obviously not on a perfect surface. There's pressure. There's all those things involved, but probably more specifically, it's green reading. So ultimately, the philosophy from the tool read guys is that if we can come up with a methodology that makes every putt a straight putt, and that we can give people a target to hit the putt at, and a bit of a guide on the speed at which to hit that putt, then the tour pros are good enough to execute to a level of 90%. All right. So not expecting that they're necessarily going to make 90% of 12-footers in tournament play, but if you could take that 30% to, say, 45 or 50%, not even move it halfway to where it is on a straight putt, but if you can make a significant improvement on that, then you're winning tournaments. You're not missing cuts. You're winning tournaments, and so that's sort of the philosophy of what they're trying to figure out, which is probably not that different to aim point in many respects. I think it's a similar thing. You're kind of trying to identify a point at which to hit a straight putt to, and then let gravity be your friend and do everything that it needs to do from there.
Yeah, that's exactly what you're doing.
Yeah. So a couple of other things. I just want to talk about some basics, right? But this is probably a good place to start. So, and I say that it's basics, but then when you look into it at an extra level, it actually tells you to do a couple of things that I've never really done before and I wouldn't logically necessarily have thought of, but then when I look back on it, it makes sense. And so the basics is this: the ball will break more when it's rolling slower than when it's rolling faster.
Yep.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Yep. So that means a couple of things. As the putt slows, it will take the break. Now, we know this to be true because when you hit a putt, like it holds its line and then it gets towards the cup and it starts to break hard as it slows down.
Yep.
Okay. But it's an important point because it also tells you a couple of things. The ball rolls slower on faster greens. Let me say that again. The ball rolls slower on faster greens.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense because an 8-foot putt, you want the ball rolling slow because if it's rolling faster, it's going to go further, right?
Correct. So if you're hitting a putt of the same distance, like the ball, forget about the hole, but the ball starting where your club is and finishing at a point, on a faster green, it will move. It will take it more time to stop, so it will be moving slower. Then on a slow green, you smack the ball and it gets there quickly and it decelerates quickly. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is an important thing because what that means is that on faster greens, if the ball's moving slower, and we know that the ball breaks more when it's moving slower, on faster greens, the ball will break more than on slower greens.
Yeah, right. Yep.
So that's a good basic to wrap your head around. The other thing that it says is when you're assessing the break of a putt, say you've got a 20-foot putt or something like that of reasonable distance, and it might seem to have quite a lot of break in the first third of the putt, and then it flattens out a bit, and then there's a bit of break in the last third of the putt. It's the last third of the putt that really makes the difference, and that's where you need to focus your reading on. It's not to eliminate the first part, but you would say that the last third will have twice the impact on the overall break of the putt than what the first third of the putt will, because the ball's travelling so much slower in the last third than it is off the club face.
It's giving more importance to that last third than the first third. That's
exactly what it is. So it's more heavily weighting the last third.
Yeah.
So hopefully that makes sense. So because you're powering it through the break effectively on the first third.
Yep.
To get it to a point where it starts to slow down and take the break on the last third.
Yep.
Why is that interesting? Okay, that's interesting because, and I know I'm guilty of this, and a lot of people probably would be, that you go up and you line up your putt from behind your ball, looking, the hole is the furthest thing away, the ball's the closest. You're actually judging the break of the putt based on what's closest to you, which is predominantly the first third or first half of the putt. You're not really paying attention to the end of the putt when the ball's slowing down. So that was tip number one, is that actually which bit of the putt should you look at?
Yeah. Interesting. And that's a bit of a difference to aim point, whereas the aim point, you're taking the part of the putt with the most break. So you break it down into, depending on how long the putt is, between 2, 3, maybe even 4 sections, and whichever part of the putt has the most break, that's what you use.
It's a little bit of a subtle difference.
Yeah, it is.
So on tour read, what and the example that was given was, say, on a putt of, it doesn't even matter how long it was, but it was a long enough putt. Say it was probably about 25 feet or something like that, and they were assessing the first, like the first sort of half to a third of the putt being about a 3% break.
Yep.
And then the last third of the putt being about a 1% break.
Yep.
And the question was, well, all right, if you start with a 3% break, first half, second half's got a 1% break, what's the average brake that you're going to apply to that putt. And logically, for anyone that's done maths beyond about the age of 12, you'll know that the average between 3 and 1 is 2. Okay, so you go, oh, it's a 2% break, so I'll play a 2% break. But the tour read methodology would say if we're applying, sort of twice the weighting on that last third, it actually says that you should apply it as a 1.5% break, not a 2% break, because you'll power through a lot of the 3%. It'll have a bit of impact, but it'll have half the amount of impact as what it would if it was at the last third of the putt. So that
do you need to be a mathematician to apply the tour read?
There's a little bit. It's relatively simple maths, to be honest, but there is a little bit of maths to it because.
Do we need to have a calculator in our pocket?
So, in practice, you actually use your phone, and you put your phone 2/3 the way along the putt, and it measures it. Like with the gyroscope inside the phone, it measures the break and it does the calculation for you, and gives you your aim point. You can't quite do that in competition.
Yeah,
so I
was going to say that's not. Yeah,
the idea
not what
is
you do in competition.
The idea is that you do it to train yourself to be able to observe and do the calculations, and then it has a feature where you do that and you can hide the result, and you've got to guess, got to commit to your guess, and then you press to reveal the result, and it's kind of like a test, and it can tell you how you went.
Yeah, right. Yep.
So anyway, so there's that side to it. Now, in terms of how do you judge the percentage slope? Okay, so this is where these two methodologies will differ, because aim point, of course, you're using your feet and you're standing over the line and you're looking this side or that side. This is early days for me, but what I've got so far out of the training videos is that they suggest that you go to the side, you look at your putt from the side, not from behind.
Yep.
And you pick what you think is the low side.
Yep.
And you look at the putt and you look at the straight line between your ball and the hole, and you look at the ground about a foot on the near side and about a foot on the far side, and you just try and judge which one is higher. Is one higher than the other to qualify the fact that, yes, I'm on the low side.
Yep.
The theory goes that from the high side, it looks flatter. From the low side, that height difference is more obvious.
Yep.
Also, they say that anything less than 1% of slope is almost impossible to perceive.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Other than kind of gut feel. But like less than 1% of break, you pretty much can't see it. So you're just going on, I think there might be a little bit. So that's interesting. Also, they were saying that most putts have a break that's in either from 0 to around about 4% of break. It's not a lot more than that. Is that similar to what aim point tells you?
Yeah. I mean, most. I mean, it doesn't give that range, but in my experience, that's about what it is. You're not going to get too many more putts with, or too many putts with a greater than 4%.
Certainly not around the hole.
No, and certainly not around the hole. The aim point does have a couple more subtleties with the use of your feet, because they don't necessarily use percentages they use more degrees, but then you're using those in giving those a number to then use the number of fingers to give you your aim point. So they're not saying that 1 degree or less than 1 degree you can't feel it, because what they're saying is that you can effectively feel it in your feet, and you can even feel those subtle breaks in your feet when you're using sort of aim point correctly. So I think there's a couple couple more subtleties than that. And what they're also saying is your eyes can deceive you. So it sounds like to read, you're still using your eyes a lot, whereas the aim point methodology is basically saying, well, golf course architects actually put in whether it be sort of slopes or mounds that, visually are quite confusing and are quite deceptive.
I think that's why what it's talking about is not actually looking at and I might get to this in future videos, but it's not really talking about looking at the whole area, for the overarching slope of the green. It's really focusing on doing this look from the side. Does this bit of ground look higher than that bit of ground on the specific area that I'm putting on?
Yep.
And looking at that from both directions. And then you're looking at it along the putt to figure out if it's uphill or downhill, sort of in the different sections. Now, once you've got a feel for that, all right, say if you go, I think it's a 1% slope, like I've figured out that, and you learn this through using the app in practice in different scenarios on greens to get a bit of an idea visually for what a 1% slope looks like. But 1% is kind of considered the baseline for the formula that it uses to figure out your aiming location. So strap yourself in, numbers man, Andy Walker, because here we go. So the formula is that you look at the putt length in yards. Weird.
Yep.
Yards, not feet. So remember there's 3 feet to the yard.
Yep.
So you look at the putt length in yards, you multiply it by 2, and then you minus 1.
Wow. Okay.
All right. It's not that hard. I'll give you an example. You multiply it by 2, you minus 1. And on an average green speed, because remembering green speed affects how much a putt will break on the same slope. So on an average green speed, this is all calculated for a 10 on the stimp, which is allegedly an average green. What that means is for a 6-foot putt, let's do the maths on that. A 6-foot putt, which is 2 yards. Yeah, well done.
Take away 1, it's 1 yard.
No, not yet, because you've got to multiply it by 2. So 2 times 2, Andy Walker?
4.
4 minus 1?
3.
Okay. So that's saying that there'll be 3 inches of break for 1% on a 6-foot putt with a stimp of 10.
Right.
All right. Now, what it's telling you, though, it's from the center of the hole. So it's not saying aim 3 inches outside the hole. It's aiming 3 inches from the center of the hole.
Yep.
Now, it's important to know that the width of a hole is 4.25 inches.
Yep.
So it's just over 2 inches. So essentially what this is saying is that for a 6-foot putt with the 1% slope, you're essentially aiming 3/4 of an inch outside the edge of the hole at dying speed. Not charging it past. Obviously, the harder you hit it, faster the ball's going, the less it's going to break.
Yep.
So it's very simple maths. If you can multiply things by 2 and subtract 1, what you would then do for that is if you said it was a 2% break, you would do the same calculation, but you would then multiply the result by 2. So instead of 3 inches, it would be 6 inches.
Yep.
If it was a 3% break, you would multiply it by 3. You with me?
Yep.
And if you thought it was less than 1, you'd say like, oh, maybe it's a 0.5% break. There's a little bit in it, but it's not much. Then you'd be dividing that 3 or multiplying it by half, which is also dividing it by 2. So you come up with 1.5 inches. So you'd be aiming inside the hole.
Yep.
So it's pretty simple from that perspective. The other thing that it talks about is speed, because obviously judging speed is super important. For matching up your speed with the amount of break that you're putting in there. So what it talks about with speed is it says, imagine that the hole is a clock face. So you've got 6 o'clocks pointing at you, 12 o'clocks pointing away from you.
Yep.
What have you got? 3 o'clocks pointing to the right, 9 o'clocks pointing to the left. Depending on where your aim point is, so say you're going 6 inches outside the hole and you visualize a putt that starts on that line and you can kind of visualize what the break looks like and you and then you're getting the clock reference point of what point into the hole that's going in. Like it might be going in at 2:30, or it might be going in at 7 o'clock or something like that. And they reckon that visualizing which part of the hole the ball's dropping in to the cup from helps the brain program how hard to hit it.
Yep.
So rather than just hitting at that point, trying to get it there, you'll steam it through, but you're actually trying to judge, seeing that curve to help program your brain how far you need to hit it to allow it to drip in on that line.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's where I'm at so far.
Wow. There's a bit more to it than what I certainly the basics of aim point. Now, I do know that there is an aim point course and also an advanced course, which I haven't done. I've only just got the base aim point that I've taken that framework to implement into my putting routine. But sounds like there's a reasonable amount to learn with Tour Read.
Oh, look, what it comes down to, it's about doing enough practice sessions where you can really start to ingrain visually what you're seeing and what you're assessing on the terrain to match what the break actually is. And look, as an example, I took my phone down to the practice putting green and I put it down and I used it to tell me what the break was and how, where my aim point would be. And then I lined the ball up on that, and I was draining putts from all over the place. Like, it was like Macquarie Cup all over again.
Yeah.
And then I took it away and I was trying to assess it myself and do the maths myself, and I was back to, missing them.
Yeah, right.
But that's a practice thing, that's something that you've got to work on. So what I know, it's not my mechanics that's going to let me down for missing putts, and that's where that that tour stat of 90% on straight putts goes down to 30% when you're reading them. Yeah, my variance would be probably higher than that. So I think the good thing is this is going to give me a methodology for getting out there and practicing reading putts, and it will, tell me when I'm right or wrong, rather than just hitting one going, did I misread it, or did I push it, or did I pull it?
Yeah. And I think we talked about this after the Macquarie Cup. I think you need a framework. Which Tour Read obviously gives you a framework in order to decide on what your start line is for your putts and how much break it has. And if Tour Read works, then great. If that's the framework that you feel comfortable with and works for you, then you should go with that. Because I can't tell you how much my putting has improved and the confidence that I have in putting since I've started using aim point. It's just that framework rather than sort of, I reckon it's going to break about this much. I reckon I need to start at about here. And that was what, the conversation that I used to have with me. I reckon it's just outside left edge. I reckon maybe 2 inches. I'll aim 2 inches outside left edge. Like that's guesswork. That's not framework. That's guesswork.
100%.
So for me to have a framework, to a logical framework to work within, you just it gives you so much of an edge with your putting that, as I said, it's made a huge difference to what I do.
I think as well, having a bit of commitment to your line allows you to actually hit a putt properly rather than just sort of going, I'll send it up there somewhere in that vicinity, and you can hit the putt with a little bit more authority. I can't remember who it was that was talking about it. There's a quote that I'll probably misquote, but along the lines of you're better to hit a committed putt on the wrong line than an uncommitted putt, somewhere around the right line.
Yep.
Now that may or may not be true, but I think that's what this will do. And it's a case, for me, it will be a case of trying to find some time where I can get down to the practice screen and actually test it out and trying to judge. And I think the way to use this is to firstly try and do it manually and try and assess the break, myself, and then use the app to check it to see, how close I've got, or have I got it completely wrong. And it's funny because the ones, the big breakers that are the, your 3-4 percenters, well, that's pretty easy to see because it's obvious, but it's the subtle breaks, the 0.5% to 1.5% that you do. That is it a bit that way? Is it a bit that way? And I think that's where it would be a little bit tricky. Obviously, aim point's using the feet to try and feel that. This method seems to be standing on either side of the putt line and looking at it to try and judge is that bit of ground higher than this bit of ground. I guess different outcomes for different people.
Yeah. And I mean, where you do need to do a little bit of work and consistent work with Aimpoint is they do recommend that you get and I've got a digital level, which so I've gone out, and especially during practice rounds, I go out and I measure different slopes on greens, and then I will feel that with my feet to be able to get a consistent feel. And the more that you practice that, the better you get at feeling what the slope is and the degrees of slope through your feet. So Aimpoint sort of has a similar methodology in that you're actually measuring and learning how to measure and feel those degrees of slope, but then obviously it uses a different method to figure out your starting line.
Yeah. So, and that's why I kind of feel like they're really, really similar in a lot of ways. Just a few differences in the execution of how the specific people that have then developed these systems have gone and applied that, but the base level knowledge and the base level approach, I don't think it's that different. And really the key part of it is actually practicing it exactly like you're saying, like getting that feeling or getting the visuals or whatever it is. And I think with tool read, there is an expectation that you probably use all of those senses to try and get that judgment for what the subtleties of the break are. What I do like about it, and I've actually just got an email from them whilst we've been chatting, they continually then just send more information and sort of drip feed it to you of, hey, check out this video. Right. Here's another thing that you should look at. And I think that's quite cool. So, it's definitely one to watch. I'll give more updates on how it's tracking. But so far, I think my summary is that so far I have actually gotten way more out of it in a short amount of time than I thought I would.
Yeah, good.
So that's a good thing.
Yeah. And again, the more you practice it, the better you get at it, and the more you refine your feel, and the better you become at judging those slopes and doing the calculations around where your start line is. The better you're going to be with it.
Yeah, and it's given me a tool where I can now go as a practice session and go, I'm going to do a green reading practice.
Yeah.
Never would have done that before.
I mean, 100%.
Who does that? Really? If you speak to...
I've done it quite a few times.
I know you have now because you're using Aimpoint, but, if you speak to most of the guys at any golf club, and I'd be interested, question for the Pilgrims, like who actively practices green reading?
Yep.
It's probably not many.
Yeah. Well, when I'm doing a session, a practice session, not so much on the longer putts, but certainly when I'm practicing short putts, and then when I'm practicing my speed control, and there'll be sometimes that I'll hit my second putt rather than just picking up within gimme distance. I'll always practice my green reading at that point in time. And then, as I said, when I'm out doing some practice, I'll actually pull out, because I've got the digital level in my golf bag. It always stays in there. I'll pull out the digital level just to test how I'm going in and to make any adjustments with what I'm feeling through my feet. So I'm always making sure that I'm within, or within a fairly close proximity of what the slope's actually saying on the digital level.
Yeah, which is cool. What I was impressed about today was Tour Read uses your phone as the digital level.
Yep.
And when I was putting it on the green and it was taking a reading and then giving me the distance, left or right from the center of the cup, it also gives you a percentage number for how hard to hit it, which is calibrating the uphill, downhill element. But anyway, just talking about the amount of break, but just using the phone to judge the break and then doing its calculation on, through that equation to give me the point. And when I hit it on that, it was spot on.
Yep.
It's remarkable.
Yeah.
Anyway,
And
cool.
I found that exact, experience I had with Aimpoint, and that's why it took me virtually no time to decide that this is what I want to use, and I'm sure that will be the same for you with Tour Read.
Yeah, I did get a couple of funny looks. It was because today's a Wednesday. It was the Wednesday afternoon, and the Wednesday competition at the club was finishing up as I went down there on the practice green. You could see there was a few people watching, and I've got a couple of balls out at about 12 feet, put the phone down, kind of 2/3 the way to the hole, have a look at it, pick the phone up, line the putt up, smack it in. And there's a few people, what is this guy doing?
Yeah.
So anyway, it was interesting. So anyway, if you were down there at the club and you happen to be listening to this episode, that's what I was doing.
Yeah, excellent.
So no, good fun.
Yeah. Now, just coming back to the putting simulator, I've done
your research.
Yeah, done a little bit of research.
Live research. I love it.
While you were talking.
I love it.
Not actually on Bayside Golf, which is sort of why I couldn't find it on there to start with. It's on. It's actually being sold by our good friends of the show, Golfbox, and it's
love Golfbox.
XPutt RG real time putting simulator. Now it's about $700. On their website. They've got it at 736. Golfbox has it on special at the moment for about 680. But what so what you effectively do, you can obviously practice your putting. There is short game and putting competitions apparently that are online that you can play in, which is quite interesting.
I like this.
But then it also says under the heading of instant feedback, hone your swing mechanics with the XPutt RG as it provides detailed feedback on each putt you make, including analysis on ball speed, putter direction, and club face angle.
That's what you want.
Yeah. So I'm interested to see how something like this would go.
I like
it. It'd be really interesting. Yeah.
It's definitely going on my Father's Day list.
So I think certainly while you're never going to get anything as good as, say, the Sam Putt Lab, I think you're probably looking at comparing something like this to, the Sam Putt Lab, you'd be comparing, say, the Garmin R10 to, a TrackMan. So
that's exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, you're never going to get, that detailed data I think you're going to get out of the Sam Putt Lab. But just for home use and just to see what your stats are and what your data is, I think this could be useful.
I really think it would be useful. Absolutely. Back up the truck, Andy Walker.
Yeah.
Get in there.
Nice one. For Father's Day / Christmas.
Wow.
/ birthday next year.
Yeah. Or just cause.
Yeah.
There's always another option. I didn't actually think when we were talking about this episode, I didn't necessarily think that we were going to spend an hour on putting, but
but we just had. well, it's 43% of the game apparently.
Apparently.
So,
apparently.
Why wouldn't? Well, in fact, should we be spending 43% of our episodes on putting?
Oh, I think you might be stretching. Pretty niche audience at that point. No, can we move on from putting? I do want to talk to you about some short game stuff because
right.
Pilgrims.
Yeah, because you did say you'd sort of found something with your short game.
Pilgrims will be well aware that I had a few battles on the short game, certainly in the Macquarie Cup, and have done lately for a little while now. And Let me maybe explain exactly what's been going on, because this has been difficult to articulate and therefore difficult to try and find a cure. What's been happening sometimes, not all the time, is that my wrists do some weird stuff at impact. And if you think back to the 16th hole on the Macquarie Cup on day 2 on the par 5,
Where you hit about 2 feet behind the ball and
the one before that, so the one that was when I was hitting sand wedge from, I don't know, about 25, 30 metres short of the green, that ended up still short of the green. And it wasn't actually because I'd mishit it. What happened was down on the downswing for some reason, and this happens every now and then, my wrists then decide to just really open the club face just before impact.
yeah, right.
And it's bizarre. And I haven't really been able to kind of do anything about it. I feel like sometimes it might be to do with body stalling, like not rotating through, and therefore like kind of pushing at the ball, like, flipping type action.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe, I don't think it's that extreme, but it's not. And because the other thing that happens if it doesn't go that way, I'll really close it and pull the pitch.
Yeah.
So that's just this weird thing that every now and then just comes out. And when it comes out, it's almost like the yips. You kind of like just ruins your confidence for the next 3 or 4 chips that you hit, which therefore led to the earthquake moment on the follow-up.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to muck around with a few things, just trying to eliminate that out of the system. Anyway, for one reason or another, I was thinking about my weight distribution in my stance when hitting these sorts of shots.
Yep.
Now, my question for you is, where do you think your weight distribution should be in your setup?
Oh, my weight distribution, certainly when I get inside, say 60 meters, 50 or 60 meters, becomes more prominent on my front side, on my lead side, probably then, around the green is 70-30, I would say.
Yeah.
Something around that. When I'm playing a 3/4 punch, it's probably still, maybe 55 lead side, 45. There is a little bit, but not a huge amount. But certainly as I get closer to the green, the more my weight goes onto my front side, which obviously as a right-handed golfer is my left side. So I would say that would be the opposite for yourself.
You'd be correct. So, and I'm so glad to hear you say that, because that's been the little epiphany, because I've been still pretty much 50-50, and I think that's been the issue. I think that's been the issue. So I've now been playing around with pushing, probably about 70-30 weight distribution onto front side, my right side. And my word, that has just been a game changer for crispness of contact. And I don't feel like I've got to overly, worry about squaring or closing the club face down to hit a bump and run or anything like that. A bit of shaft lean will get the job done.
Yeah, for sure.
And I can still feel as though I'm, and this was always a visual that I've enjoyed, is imagine the ball sitting on the ground and it's got 2 little spindly legs coming out from the bottom of the ball down through the ground, and you're trying to just chop the legs off at the hips. Sort of just at the base of the ball. So still having that feeling, and that's that's just that sliding under the ball with the wedge, but with the weight forward, that's taking so much of the handsiness out of the strike. It's super exciting, Andy Walker.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there is a couple of schools of thought when it comes to short gaming around the green. There is, say, like Jason Day, for instance, uses virtually no hand action, no wrist action with his short game. Whereas you listen to Tiger talk about his short game and all through his game, and it's just hands. He plays with his hands. He needs to feel what's going on through his hands. So I think it's, as much as golf in almost every aspect is an individual it's very unique in that it's what suits you as an individual. Short game, 100%. And depending on sort of what you're comfortable with and what your feel is depends on how much wrist and hands you use. For me, for instance, I'm more of a Jason Day than a Tiger because for me, I want to actually keep my left hand, my lead hand, out of it because that's where I start to get a few little sort of issues with my lead hand. So I'm very right hand dominant or trail hand dominant when I'm with my short game, but I'm still got my hands in front of the ball, very little wrist action, but yeah, I'm just making sure that I'm accelerating through the ball, which is where the tour tempo came into its own as well. And I know you've got the tour tempo, so I'm hopeful that sort of sorted out a few of your little decel
I think it's helped, but like focusing on the weight distribution has almost done it for me.
Yep.
And I'm finding now, like, just having that accelerate through the ball and, coming to that nice rotated finish with good follow through,
yep.
that seems to just be happening organically by getting my weight distribution set up right. Whereas when I wasn't doing that and I was sort of 50-50 on the weight, I would really have to focus on that and concentrate on trying to do it. And it was more inconsistent. This change is actually just leading to that naturally happening.
Yep.
Now, I haven't tried it yet on a round. Obviously, competition round coming up this weekend. And after spruiking this breakthrough so loudly tonight, geez, I hope it works out. But it's just filled me with confidence that's been completely lacking to this point around the greens.
Yep. The other thing that I will say, and one of the issues that I had that I've now sorted out in my short game was that I was also sliding my hips a little bit forward in my downswing and follow through. Whereas now, even though I sort of feel almost as though I'm hitting against my lead side, against my left side, and rotating my left hips around. So rather than sliding, I've got my weight forward, sort of say, certainly on the shorter pitches and chips, 70% on my lead side. But instead of, my hips don't slide like they would in a full swing. I'm sort of hitting against, it sort of feel as though I'm hitting against a bit of a wall there with my left hip, and then rotating through as, and I don't try and rotate through, but it is a rotation through, as I follow through after impact.
I think that rotation point is just super important because when the body stalls, arms get disconnected, things get handsy, and all sorts of horrible outcomes can happen, as we've seen. So that's where that's at. It is a bit of an exciting breakthrough. So hopefully I can keep working on that and developing that, because if I can sort out that element of my game, that's probably 4 or 5 shots I reckon I can drop right there.
And I would agree with that, and add the green reading into it as well. Easy half a dozen shots I reckon you could save per round just by getting those couple of things sorted out.
As David McClellan would say, short game, short game, short game. Hate it when that guy's right.
True. Although in saying that, Mark Brody probably has a different perspective.
He does.
On that when it comes to ball striking, and they're actually talking about. I was listening to a little bit of the lead up to the PGA, because we've got the PGA Championship. Well, by the time this gets released, it'll be almost sort of one and done. But we're still in the lead up to the PGA Championship, and they were just talking about the need to be a great ball striker to win around Quail Hollow, because it's a ball striker's course.
Oh, for sure.
So, and that's just because it's so long. Yeah. Like apparently
there's a lot of trouble.
It's huge.
So on that topic, this is probably a good place to wrap up, because we have rambled on about putting all night. On that topic, so when this gets released, once again, similar to the Masters, will probably be on the turn from front nine to back nine in round 4. Yep. Who wins it, Andy Walker? Who takes out the PGA?
Look, I would love to see Rory do it, and yeah, I'd love to see him go from his Masters victory to now winning multiple majors. It would be great to see him just have it like a second coming, like sort of similar to what he did between sort of, what was it, 2011, 2012 to 2014.
Yep.
It'd be great to see him have another couple of years like that, and maybe sort of post 7 or 8 majors. I'd love to see Rory do that. It'll be interesting to see how much pressure is released from his Masters victory. I'm going to be watching him closely just to see how he deals with it, how much more relaxed he is. He was actually out on the course, I noticed, with Dr. Bob Rotella, so he's still got Dr. Bob on his side, which I think is a really good thing. I mean, Scotty Scheffler, he's starting to come into his own form as well. So I think he'll definitely be in amongst the mix. I certainly think Bryson DeChambeau as well. It's, this course suits Bryson. So I think those golfers that are quite long and straight drivers. So yeah, I mean, you look the likes of Rory, Bryson, Scotty Scheffler. I think they're the guys that are, Justin Thomas probably is going to have another good PGA Championship. I'd expect. I'd love to see Jordan Spieth win.
Is it the right course for Spieth?
I don't think it is. I think this is probably just a bit too long for him to win around. He might be competitive, but can he win? I'm not sure. I mean, yeah, it'd be great to see. I mean, I remember watching Jordan Spieth win the Australian Open in about 2014, I think it was, around the Australian, and thinking, wow, this guy's something special. So yeah, I'd love to see him do well here and close out the Grand Slam, but
it would be a good story.
I'm not convinced it would be. It's a realistic story, but it would be great to see in consecutive majors 2 guys who've been waiting as long as
wouldn't it,
McIlroy.
Like, you can't write that script. That's just nuts.
Yeah, that would just be a phenomenal start to the major season.
Yeah, it would be. So you've talked about all the people that could win. Who's going to win?
Rory.
Okay.
What about yourself?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. You would have to say, if you took the Masters away of what we just saw and say Rory was still on his I haven't won a major streak, you would have to say that playing a major at Quail Hollow was always going to be his best chance of winning. Okay. Now he has also just come off the back of a win, and it's not just any win, but it is the Masters. He's got the Grand Slam, and yeah, the monkey's off the back. It's not like we're still saying it's 11 years since a major. That just adds to the Rory's got to win kind of vibe to this event, except for one thing, and it's Scotty Scheffler's 32 under par in his last outing.
Yep.
And the golf that he played was absolutely ridiculous. So is there anyone on the planet that can beat that Scotty Scheffler? And as good as Rory McIlroy is, I don't even think so. Like, that was just next level ridiculous golf from Scotty. So does he bring it again? Or does Rory live up to the hype on Quail Hollow? I think it's a race in 2 between the 2 of them. I just don't think anyone else is going to win it. Having said that, of course it'll be someone else.
I reckon Bryson. I reckon Bryson's there. I'd like to see Xander do a good job of his defense, but he just hasn't really been on his game so far in 2025. So yeah, I can't really see Xander doing anything. I mean, he might make the cut, but whether he's contending or not, I'm not sure. But certainly, I think that it'll come from Bryson, Scotty or Rory. They're probably the 3 that are the obvious. But you're right. I think it's a lock.
The other one, which would be amazing, I don't think it's going to happen, but it would be amazing. And there's a little bit of me that goes, oh, you know what? You've got to hit the ball a long way on this golf course to be successful. It's a ball striker's golf course. It does bring Minwoo into the conversation.
Yeah. And again,
I just don't think he can do it for 4 rounds.
Yeah, and that's the problem, is that he does have issues with his drive and drive direction. Got a phenomenal short game and he's great on the greens, but I think he needs more consistency with his ball striking. I don't think he's ready to take apart a course like Quail Hollow. As much as he's got the length to do it.
His day, he could. You know, that kid's got game like very few other people going around.
Yeah, in 1 or 2 rounds for sure.
Yeah, but can it be full?
Still has that bad round in him, unfortunately. So, yeah, I again love to see Minwoo win it, but will he? Yeah, I'm not convinced. I think he's probably got a better shot at, say, at this stage at either the Masters or maybe the British Open or the Open. I shouldn't say British Open, the Open. I'm not sure that a PGA or a US Open is the right tournament for him at this point in his career. I hope that changes, but at this stage, I don't think his ball striking isn't quite at that level.
Yep. So with all that said, on this one, I'm actually going to agree with you. Rory wins it. But not only that, Rory wins all 4 this year.
Oh, that's a big call.
Mm-hmm.
Slam. Wow. Okay.
1 year.
Wow.
How about that for a story?
This is Rory's year, you reckon? There you go.
I mean, we go to the Open at Portrush in Northern Ireland. This is the chance. This is the time to do it. The rotation could not be set up better for him.
Yeah. It's a big call.
But it's a massive call. Pilgrims, you heard it here first.
Rory, the Grand Slam.
Not only does Rory finish the Slam with the first major of the season, he completes the Slam in 1 season. It's just that's the headlines. That's the headlines. Right. So there you go. That's what's going to happen. We will know the answer in a couple of hours, and if he doesn't win this one, then he won't win all of them this year.
Wow, that's profound.
Yeah. Anyway.
I also noticed that old mate Michael Block's in the PGA Championship
the block
this
party,
year.
it's back, yeah.
Do you reckon he's going to have another slam dunk hole in one this year? That'd be an interesting story as well.
No, he won't. It's not going to happen. Hasn't happened.
No.
Although
he did a couple of years ago.
No, I know, but in this tournament, and because we're talking about the future, but it's in the past. So I'm saying it hasn't happened.
Right. It hasn't happened. Right.
Unless, of course, it has happened. At which point, yeah, of course, it was obviously going to happen. Wow. Okay. We have been talking for too long. I think that has become clear. So Andy Walker, it's been a lot of fun. Pilgrims, a bit more putting info for you. Strap yourselves in. Get the flat stick out.
Yep.
Learn to read a green. That's what we're doing.
Yep. Maybe if anyone's tried out that X putt G, just drop us a line. Let me know how well. Let us know how you've gone with it, because I think it could be an interesting device to have a bit of a play around with. Absolutely. And whilst you're doing all of that, Andy Walker, is there anything else that the Pilgrims should be doing? Oh, look, as always, I think you should be rocking out, Pilgrims. Sounds fair. Thanks for listening to us today. We love hearing from our Pilgrims, so please reach out to us through any of the links in the show notes. We know golf is hard, so we hope we can help you shoot better scores and inspire you to keep trying. Rock on, Pilgrims.